The sun is booming in the UK lately. It's been probably over a week non-stop sun again, and continuously about 25 to 26 degrees. It is just mental. So I thought today is going to be a good day to talk about all about the dogs, how I got them, my dog's allergy issues, and how I went from kibble to raw. So that's the summary of what I'm going to talk about today, and I hope it's not going to be too noisy because I have two fans going, clearly, because it's 25 degrees. So that's the fan over there blowing in my face, and that's the fan over there blowing in her face. Yeah, they both don't like it. They both do not like the heat. They don't like the steaming heat. And Mr. in the front, let's turn that around. That's one of the main characters today, I have to say. Oh, someone's itchy. Yes, so we talk about this doggy today quite a bit. Okay, back to us. Back to us. I don't know where I'm gonna put the camera in order to talk a little bit better. Miss. Alright, I think I found a spot that is okay to film with. It's always tricky to find something in this van to be filming properly, have the perfect lighting and everything. And yeah, I just hope the fans are not interfering with the sound, because I can't hear it myself. Yeah, so we're talking about mostly about this dog today in the background, but here's the other one. Anyway, I can't get them in the picture properly. So I'm gonna leave it like this for a minute. So where do I start? I start with, well, how I got them. How I got the two in the first place. So that was a big adoption story with me working in Italy for, I think, almost a year as a volunteer. So that was mainly a boarding home, but the guy was taking in strays or animals that people dropped off on the road around his place, which was very common because people knew that there was a boarding home, so people just dropped their dogs there, which is very unfortunate, but that's how the culture is in Italy. Yeah, that's where I met my two doggies. So this missus was there. This missus was there already in a neighbor's garden. She was a rescue as well. And this guy was dropped off. Someone literally dumped him on the road while I was doing a vet visit with one of the chickens that we had. And I came back from the visit from the vets with the chicken, and some people parked the car there on the entrance to the drive, and he was hovering in the corner of the road. This was a very busy road, and he was hovering in the corner, didn't want anyone to come near him. He was growling and he was nervous and he was probably in pain. He had a bit of a leg fracture. His leg was bloody, so we kind of knew that he was actually got thrown out of the car or something hit him while he tried to escape or something. So yeah, I tried to catch him, didn't work. The people already dropped some kibble there in case he was hungry, and we couldn't catch him, so they called some nearby shelter and they couldn't catch him either. Afterwards, I'd say luckily, because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten him. And he managed to go through the night in those woods, slept somewhere, I don't know where, and ended up the next day at the boarding home, and that's where he stayed That's where he stayed and walked around for about a week. Managed to walk around, and he probably slept in one of the empty buildings that were there. And played with Keeks when she was out, and they were running around together. Yeah, that's when he was very young then. They thought he was about under a year. Very young puppy. And yeah, so he ended up in the boarding home after all. So yeah, he got a kennel there, and I was spending time with him, and she came into the kennels after, just before I left that place. Back then I was not planning on taking both with me. I kind of made a bond with them already, but I did not plan on taking them with me, because at the time I did not have any possibilities to have 2 dogs. I didn't have a car, I didn't have a place to stay. I was just traveling around in hostels, so there was no possibility for me to take them. But I knew if I would stay in a place for longer, I would bond with the animals and the dogs and whatever, and would like to take some home. It took a year, almost a year later, until I settled in the UK with my partner, and we got a house. We rented a house for a year, and that's when we took the dogs. So that was, the timeline was about a year after I left that shelter / boarding home in Italy. So then the big story was how we got them to the UK. Was I basically drove with my car to my mom's place, and then we drove from my mom's place to Italy. All 3 of us, my partner, my mom and me, and then we picked up the dogs and drove back. So that was a 2-day operation, literally 2 days, or even 1 day, 24 hours. We actually drove there and drove back in one bed. So that was a massive drive for all of us, especially my mom, because she was driving the whole time. And yeah, so that's how we got back, and stayed a week at my mom's, and then drove over to the UK, and that's how I got my doggies. Coming to the allergies of what happened there is that this dog, Snoops, had allergies already when I met him back in Italy. He was having problems with his ear, like quite a bit. He had ear medication. I remember giving him a lot of ear medication because he was shaking his ears constantly with itch, with allergies, with whatever. I back then did not understand this thing of what was happening to him, why this is happening to him. So I just gave him the ear medications, which I did with all other dogs as well. As soon as someone had an issue, we had medications for it, and it was always vet recommended stuff. So he was always taken care of with conventional medication, and it never went away. It was always there, and short-term stop and then come back, and short-term stop and then it came back, and we had to treat it again. So it was always back and forth, the situation. I remember so much, and they always had kibble. I always fed kibble to dogs, and this is all I knew back then. It was just always kibble. It was always what I'd done with my cats as well. I had cats back in the days when I was living back home, and I was feeding them kibble as everybody does, and wet food as everybody does. And yeah, coming back to now that I have them now since 5 years, and it has been a massive up and down journey, I have to say. Massive up and down, with lots of learning, with being freaked out about the situation of why nothing's getting better, and almost giving up because there's no help anywhere and you have to fight through this yourself, and it was crazy. So it started with both getting weird runny poo. I tried different dry foods. She had hot spots quite a bit, which she never had before. And I was wondering what that is about. It's just weird, but obviously she was an outdoor dog. He was an outdoor dog because of the kennels. They were not indoors, they were outdoors, but with a roof over their head so they didn't get wet. And she was always fine with her fur, and as soon as she was an indoor dog, I learned obviously I have to thin her fur quite a bit and then keep her dry during the winter, and obviously the kibble was an issue too, but to that later. She had quite a bit of hotspot problems, so I had to clean that, and we went to quite a few vet visits. The first 2 years I had them because of her stuff, the issues that I had to learn about, and because of his ear issues. He had a long time ear issues, and if you see the ear flaps, I probably put pictures up. If you see the ear flaps of his, they were always crusty because of the lots of shaking and the blood, and they split open and then they heal up and all that. So it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. So he had allergies quite a bit. He was puking almost every night. Kept me awake during the night. You could put your clock to it. He was doing vomiting, and I was like, this is not normal. This is seriously not normal. He didn't have that so much back in Italy. I don't remember him puking that much. So he started doing that. Oh, what else? Itchy paws. He was eating his paws. Like he wanted to get rid of them. Like he ripped them apart. There was the paw gone. I'd never seen this before. He was so itchy that he didn't know what to do with himself. It was really painful to watch. I tried to change the kibbles. I tried to change the wet food. I tried to go online to a subscription-based one. And I went obviously to the vets, and they recommended the usual chicken and rice diet or fish and rice diet, and I tried that. Clearly I tried that. Can put pictures up as well, the amount of rice that I cooked, because I could not believe the variations of what I need to cook more or less. And cooking beef for them, cooking pork for them, buying chicken from the shop, all that started about 3-4 years ago, when I had to look into home cooking and even raw food. I never heard about that you could get that for dogs. I was always like, oh no, raw is just way too complicated, can't do that. So I went just different kibble types, different home cooked types, different wet food types. Nothing helped. Nothing. He was just constantly the same. And yeah, people said exclusion diet, so I tried exclusion diet with the amount of knowledge I had, and there was not much exclusion diet there. And what next was, oh yeah, I had to look into meat that he never had before, which was venison and rabbit and pheasant and all that stuff. And my head was exploding because I didn't realize or didn't know where to get that stuff. So that's when I discovered raw food companies, the companies that just have that in stock, not the companies, raw food companies themselves. So I started ordering from those companies and cooked that stuff basically, because I didn't want to feed my dogs raw, because I didn't know that this was actually a thing, because I was too scared. You have to cook it, otherwise it's just too poisonous. Yeah, that was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare, because I always bought the wrong stuff with the bones in it. Then I had to cook it, sort out the bones. They literally picked out the bones off that meat. It was just absolute bonkers. It was absolute bonkers. Next thing, the vets, when I went there all the time, because he needed to calm himself down with his itching and with like the paw chewing and everything. So what he always got was steroids. The vets always said steroids, and I was like, there must be something else, because clearly the vet bill for steroids and vomiting reducer, they're always going into the hundreds. I had over $100 on vet bills monthly during the summer, and I'm like, that I'm not having that anymore. That is just way too much. It just covers up the symptoms. It clearly does not help him. What are we gonna do different? And the vet at the end, fast forward, literally did this. She did this, and she was like, I'm sorry, I can't help anymore, because if you don't want to do the steroids and then try other stuff, I can't help you anymore. And that's the reality, what a lot of people face, that there is literally nothing that the vet can recommend but a prescription diet and steroids, and maybe a home-cooked diet with chicken and rice, which is completely wrong. Completely wrong. So yeah, what I did at the end, I was consulting a nutritionist. I was looking around quite a bit. Some of them were quite expensive. He was so in the so-so, kind of acceptable, and so I consulted him, and he made a plan for a month of an exclusion diet, cooking with venison, cooking with rabbit, and leave everything else out, because I had no clue about portions of vegetables, because I was freaking out with the amounts. I'm like, oh my days, this is so complicated. I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't want to feed them any more vegetables that they need to, and I didn't know which vegetables were good for them, which ones weren't. And so I'm like, yeah, I need some guidance here. I don't know if I'm gonna make my dog sick if I do this, so, which was very overwhelming. For 2 big dogs, cooking up food for a week and then store it somewhere, as by that time I didn't have a freezer, was quite difficult. It was really difficult. Fast forward, the nutritionist did not work out, unfortunately. I'm not going into the details right now, because that's not the purpose of this video. But we moved on, and I learned slowly by myself of what to do, where to go, and a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of online research on websites. That's how I got to know all these natural vets online in America and Canada that are doing quite a good diagnosis of what's good and what's not, which direction you need to go. And I ended up starting to go kibble free over a year ago. It was November 23, if I remember correctly. November 23 I stopped. I had made the transition over to raw food, and I never looked back. What I ended up feeding him was rabbit and venison until he ignored venison. He didn't want to have it anymore. And her, I went on with boar and turkey until she said no to boar, and now it's just turkey. And it's all raw, and it's all better. They're loving their food way better. Noticing the changes from him for where he was to where he is now over the 5-year period, because I keep thinking, because I see him only in the now. Over the 5-year period, it was a massive change, I have to say. So the change from vomiting every night to having to get steroids, to ruining his immune system even more, to not get any natural products into him, to now feeding him a raw food diet, just rabbit. The main cause of this whole situation, why he is the way he is, I discovered about a year ago. And it's simply is 3 letters. It's the gut. So the gut needs to be fixed. Otherwise you can pump as much medication into him as you want and as much different kibble into him as you want. If the gut is not fixed, that dog will never be fixed. And it's with everyone else the same. So, what I need to do, the situation is still not finished, he's still not healed, because it's been going on for so long. It's been going on for years with him, and it has not been fixed. So that needs to be a long process to actually build this all back up again. Meaning, I have gone through quite a variety of natural powders in order to restore his gut health, which some of them have not worked a thing. I had to experiment around, so that takes time as well. So I went and found 2 powders which I never heard before, which are special formulas that are fixing the gut with different ingredients that I've seen before. So I bought those, and instantly I could see the change. I could see his yeast. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the yeast. Yeast growth constantly. One of his itchy problems is the yeast growth. So that powder stopped the yeast growth. It completely went away. And he stopped itching his paws, like chewing his paws. And his ear problems have been completely resolved since I switched to raw. I don't claim anything, but since I switched to raw, this dog has had no ear problems. There's not been a single ear problem, ear infection at all from this dog, and I had been fighting with ear infections with this dog for years. Since I have him, yes. So it's been quite a journey, it's been quite a learning curve. So the biggest issues that I needed to solve were, in short form, get rid of the carbs, aka kibble. Kibble is full of carbs. They are full of fillers, full of carbs. You don't need potatoes in kibbles, it's fillers. You don't need sweet potatoes in kibbles, it's fillers. You don't need peas in kibble, it's fillers. And I could go on. There is lots of meat meal, there is not real meat, there is lots of other ingredients that you don't want, including synthetic vitamins. Steer away from these, they're absolutely horrible and not necessary. Dogs can't take them in. Why would you want them? It's just unnecessary. So I cut that out. I cut out that. I put actual meat in his diet, which is the raw. That's the actual meat. No matter how expensive I had my kibble brand, I paid for the most expensive one, I think it was $60 for a 12 kilo pack. But still, the production of the kibble is just the same as everywhere else. You just keep boiling the shit out of it. And so I stopped it. I stopped it all completely. Raw is the way to go to start healing your dog. I did not see it at the start of it, but I definitely see now how the difference is for this dog between 3 years ago and now. So there is no more carbs, no more sugars, including rice. Rice is a big filler product. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, peas, and so on. So none of that is happening in his diet anymore. And this dog needed to heal slowly. Or he was healing slowly. So here we are now with this dog not being as itchy. He still needs stuff to do with him. But again, he had quite a lot of allergies towards other foods, like including beef, chicken, and pork, which he cannot have still. I tried and it turned out very wrong. My dogs don't have runny poo or problems with diarrhea anymore since I put them on raw. A lot of other people experience that too, but again, I'm just saying that's what I experience with their health improving as soon as I put them on a raw diet. And I was very scared, I have to say. I was absolutely very scared because of contamination issues, because of portion issues, because of the fact that this is raw meat that I'm handling, and yeah, contamination and all that. So no problem whatsoever. It is no problem. It is super easy. It is better for me than home cooked. Some people like home cooked, I don't. It's just way too many preparations involved because I have 2 big dogs. So yeah, the journey has been tough and we're still ongoing with it, but we're getting somewhere for sure, as he is definitely better than he was 5 years ago. There was a gut test that I've done with those 2 back in November last year, which I haven't done a video about, because I did not know where to go anymore, because there was certain things that I did not know what to do with and how to fix. And so I did a gut microbiome test for both of them. They were not cheap, but they at least guided me into a direction of what I could be doing. So the results of those gut tests were, which I did not expect, that Mrs. here, this one, she had a worse result in her gut microbiome percentage than this dude. So it was a bit like, I was a bit surprised. I was like, why? Why is she worse than him? It's only 10%, but still. So yeah, that was a big issue. And at least I knew from what they needed, what was missing, what needed to be put in, so we have all the specific details. So I went on my own journey, and as I said earlier, discovered 2 products, 2 powders, and that's what I'm experimenting with now. Experimenting, see how it works, and they both have done very good, I have to say. Very good. Problem is just if I need to feed it more or not. But I think because of him, it's a long-term issue with him, that's why I need to feed that a bit more than the recommended dose, just for 3 to 5 days, because he had long-term issues with it and needs to be restored long-term. So I think that was a long talk, as I was hoping I could make my story a bit shorter, but it looks like I've been talking quite a bit. I don't know if it was helpful for any of you. I know a lot of people do not like to hear you need to switch your dogs to raw in order to heal them a little bit better or make a change in a drastic way. Again, I'm not a nutritionist. I just tell you what I experienced over the last 5 years in my journey, and what I would tell people from now on anyway is to, guys, ditch the kibble. I know it's more expensive, clearly, because you have real food. Kibble is not real food. It's like going to Macca's. Would you want to eat Macca's every day? I don't remember when I had Macca's last, and I would not touch it ever again. Make a change in your dog's diet. If this video was helpful to you in any sort of way to see the changes in a dog, it is crazy. Some people can relate to it probably, because this is a common issue, I have to say. Common issue with allergies in dogs. And thanks for being here for so long, as my videos lately are getting quite a bit long, because I want to get my word out there, what I've experienced. And yeah, I'll see you popping by in the next video, whenever I put the next one out, because clearly I'm not very consistent. But anyway, see you later.